Good morning and welcome to Thursday morning's early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom to start your day off well. And we have, for those of you who like to follow along with me, we have a section from Taking the War Out of Our Words, The Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication by Sharon Ellison. So if you want to grab your book, we're going to do some prep for this. I got a little, good morning, Peggy. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. You're the first one on today. Good morning. Oh, and I see there's two others here, but your names aren't rolling yet. So welcome. Glad you're all here. Glad you're all ready to learn. We've got a good section from Taking the War Out of Our Words. Good morning, Joe Neal. We are up and shiny. Even a little sparkly today because I got a holiday party to go to for my Mary Kay team. So I thought a little sparkle was called for. So I also got a little bit of a hit that we need to do some prep for receiving these words today. So we're going to do a round or two of some tapping. So those of you who love EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, we're going to put it to use this morning. We're going to give it a minute here as people find their way here. Oh, another one rolled. We'll see who else is here. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome, welcome. We're doing Taking the War Out of Our Words today, so if you want to grab your book and be set. And like I just said, we're going to do some prep so that we're wide open and ready to receive this information because I feel like this is so important. I searched for years for this kind of information, and here it is packaged in this beautiful little book, The Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication. And good morning, Beth. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome from the Yoop. I feel like the more of us who learn how to do this and the more of us who teach others how to do this, the better off we're all going to be. When we are reactive to each other and dismissive of each other, things don't go very well. We certainly have seen that in the last couple of years, haven't we? So let's start with some tapping because I want to have us be in a mindset, a body set, a spirit set that is ready to receive as much of this information as we can soak up today. So I'd like you to start with the side of the hand, karate chop spot by the baby hand, baby finger. And just some nice deep breaths. And I want you to repeat after me. Even though I get defensive, I still love and accept myself. Even though I have a ways to go with using non-defensive communication, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've spent a lifetime being defensive, I'm ready to learn a new way. Okay, inside corner of the eyebrow, non-defensive communication. Outside corner of the eyes. What if I can't figure this out? Under the eyes, I think I'm capable. Under the nose, I'm tired of getting defensive. I'm tired of having alienating conversations. Collarbone, I'm tired of saying nothing when it would be better for me to say something. Under the arms, I'm tired of not knowing how to respond. Around the crown of the head, I am ready to learn this. Inside corner of the eyebrows, but what if it's too hard? Outside corner of the eyes, what if nobody else tries? Under the eyes, what if I'm the only one doing this? Under the nose, does not matter. Under the mouth, I'm willing to do my part. Collarbone, to clean up conversations. Under the arms, to smooth connections with others. Around the crown of the head, and be as non-defensive as possible. Nice breath in. Let it go and just feel yourself open to receiving this message. So again, Taking the War Out of Our Words, The Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication by Sharon Ellison. And we are on chapter 13. In my book, it's page 237. I'm not sure in your book, but page 237. The practice of becoming non-defensive. The practice of becoming non-defensive. Good morning, Ruth Ann. We are working on taking the war out of our words today. So, internal shifts and external practice are like the chicken and the egg. It's hard to tell which comes first. Each one promotes the other. Shifting internally and practicing the various formats for asking questions, making statements, and predicting consequences are equally essential as we move toward becoming non-defensive. Good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. So, those of you who've been traveling this path with me for quite some time know that she has already taught us how to use questions non-defensively, how to make statements non-defensively, and how to make predictions non-defensively. Note that word non-defensively. It ain't easy, right? If we're already triggered, we have to take a little time to get ourselves back into a neutral state so we can ask our questions, make our statements, do our predictions as evenly and neutrally as possible. That's key, all right? So let's keep going. She's going to give us some examples here. Let's see. I have discussed each form of communication separately in order to clarify its non-defensive nature, function, and effect. This next to last chapter will include a variety of examples to demonstrate how these tools work together in 3 areas of interaction. Some examples will demonstrate using them briefly, and some will model how to use all the formats together. My hope is that you will practice this process in a way that fits with your own needs and life experiences. So first she's talking about short versions of the non-defensive process. Putting too much emphasis on proper technique or trying to do each step every time we practice. Good morning, Gwen. Good morning, Jobelle. Glad you guys are here. We're doing non-defensive communication today. Can create more pressure, cause unnecessary awkwardness, and impede the learning process, i.e., we do not have to be perfect. We do not have to be perfect. We just want to practice. We just want to practice. And when we get a few, that worked really well under our belts, then we feel more confident about using these tools. For this reason, I want to start by focusing on how to use short versions of the non-defensive process in commonly occurring interactions. So her first little section here is varying the order, using a statement first. In many situations, the order of questions first, statements second, and predictions third seems like a natural progression. It is organic in the sense that we gather as much information as possible before we react. Then we share our reactions, and if necessary, we make predictions to indicate how we will respond to choices the other person might make. So that's the typical flow of things. The most common variation is to start with a statement. We may want to clarify why we are having a certain conversation. So just to refresh us, back in one of the previous vignettes, there were 2 women, one of whom was wearing a new dress, and the other one of whom made a comment about that dress, alluding to the first person's weight as she commented. So Elena might go back to Susan and say, "Something happened several years ago during a conversation we had that upset me, and I realize it still affects my relationship with you. Would you be willing to talk to me about it?" By making a clear statement before she asks Susan to discuss the dress incident, Elena is letting Susan know her intentions. Susan will not feel surprised or set up when Elena brings up an incident that happened years earlier. And we've all got that stuff, right? Well, you said this, and it still operates. Whether or not we even talk to the person about it, it still operates. So sometimes we can clear out that junk by doing precisely this. We go back and we clean it up after the fact. Another time we might make a statement first is when we have a very strong reaction to something a person has said or done. Anybody gotten lit up like a Christmas tree over Christmas with the family? Nobody can push your buttons like your family members, right? If our feelings, anger, hurt, or fear, are strong, they leak into a question, observational statement, or prediction and contaminate its neutrality. Again, the main goal of this non-defensive communication is to come across as neutrally as possible, okay? Here we may want to acknowledge our feelings in a statement before asking a question or making a prediction. So here's an example. I felt so angry about what you said that I'm having a hard time asking you a sincere question about what you meant. But I do want to know why you said it. Would you be willing to tell me? So there you're laying out where you're at and that you're having a hard time with it, but that you really do want to know. You want to work this through. Then she has a little section called short versions of the entire process. There are also many effective ways to use abbreviated versions of the entire process. We might ask one question, use the when and then version of a statement, and conclude with either a limit setting or challenge choice prediction. So those are all things, good morning Deb, glad you're here. Those are all things we've talked about in the past. Again, I think this book is well worth your investment. And if you haven't yet discovered thriftbooks.com, wonderful place to get books for $4, $5, whatever. And when you hit $10, you get free shipping. So awesome. Suppose we are responding to someone who feels defeated and finds it impossible to understand an issue, learn a new process, or complete some project. We can use a short, non-defensive sequence beginning with a question. Do you mean you actually want to quit, or are you expressing frustration but still want to keep at it? If the person says, I want to quit, we might say, I would feel very upset if you quit, because I believe you can learn this. I think the biggest thing that would stop you is your own belief that you can't do it. If you decide to continue, I'd like to help you in any way I can. In this case, after one question, we make a statement that expresses our reasoning, beliefs, and feelings. That statement is followed by one side of a prediction that is brief, honest, and supportive, and holds the other person accountable for making the decision. The relationship is likely to feel more equal and less condescending, whether the assisted person is a child or an adult. Here, using a question, statement, and prediction together, even in brief form, helps prevent us from doing 90% of the work to aid someone who is resistant. That was one of the rules of thumb we learned in Therapy 101. If the therapist is doing more work than the client, something's out of whack here. Who needs to own this? Whose life is this, right? So many of us do that. We take on way too much responsibility for someone else's outcome. Not our baby. Not our baby. So again, this kind of a statement, I would feel very upset if you quit because I believe you can learn this. I think the biggest thing that would stop you is your own belief that you can't do it. If you decide to continue, I'd like to help you in any way I can. It keeps that person on the hook for making the decision. If they decide to bail, it's their decision. If they decide to continue, it's their decision. You're merely the backup singer. You're the support person. You're not the one making it happen, okay? If the person saying I can't is your son who doesn't want to do his math, you would probably not accept his decision to quit without a consequence. In such a case, I would ask the same type of questions, express my faith in his ability, and offer my help only if he wants it. However, I would also express my unwillingness to simply agree to his giving up and not doing his assignment. I would make some additional predictions, which limit his free time activities or something like that, until he completes his homework and decides to get the help he needs. Okay? So you're not being a patsy here, but you're also not taking it on as yours to fix. Next section is short responses to defensive reactions. Don't you love that when you say something and someone snaps back at you? So here we go. In similar fashion, we can approach many of the defensive reactions that others have. If a coworker offers to help you with a task, but shrugs and grimaces when you ask, instead of either accepting the help or saying, never mind, we can ask, do you feel pressured by having something extra added to your workload right now? If the person denies feeling pressured and says, I'm fine, let's just get on with it, instead of feeling stuck with an unpleasant work partner or trying to argue that you don't really need help, you can say, you shrugged your shoulders and grimaced when you agreed to help me, which felt unpleasant to me, so I'd rather do it myself. Good morning, Michelle. Glad you are here. Welcome. So you're laying it out. It doesn't mean you have to go along to get along. It doesn't mean you have to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. You've asked this person for help. They're begrudgingly going to offer it. You don't want to play that game. So basically you're saying, what I observed shows me that you don't really want to do this, so I'd rather do it myself. Okay? Here we may just use one question and one statement. Or we could add one side of a prediction. If I continue to feel as though you get irritated by my asking you to help, then I will ask someone else instead. We do not have to be caught in the bind of either accepting a moody taskmate or proving that this person is irritable. We can quickly handle the situation non-defensively and protect ourselves. Once again, how we respond depends on the circumstances. If a spouse or child gripes every time we ask for a contribution to the household's functioning, we probably don't want to handle the situation by turning down the help. We need to address the issue there. You know, every time I ask you for some help, you balk. Let's have a conversation about that. Again, as neutrally as you can. The neutral part is the important part because it disarms people. They aren't going to do battle with you. So instead of this thing, you're aligning. You're coming alongside. Let's see what we can come up with that might help with this situation. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad you're here. We can smooth our transition into non-defensiveness and strengthen our skills more quickly if we start by assuming that we do not have to carry out every step of this process each time we practice. Over time, we can apply the skills with increasing sophistication and reap additional benefits. So, something that I would say is useful there is have an accountability buddy, have a practice buddy. So if you've been complaining about, nobody in my household wants to communicate, and your best friend is saying, yep, nobody in my household wants to communicate either, you two could do this together. So you could read the book together, you could pick out some practice things, you could exercise those skills, whether it's the asking of questions, the making of statements, or the prediction part. And with the prediction part, I want to remind us that we predict both sides of the coin. If you do A, I will do B. If you do C, I will do D. You lay out the whole big picture. And sometimes there's even more than 2 options. So you could lay out 3 or 4 options. Let them pick. You're neutral about it. You don't want to be invested in, but I expect you to pick A. No, you let them pick what they're going to pick. And it's a win-win situation because you've already laid out what you're going to do in each of those particular circumstances. So then you just follow through with what you said you're going to do. As parents, having taught a lot of parents, one of the things that is so easy to get caught in is making threats. If you do this, I'll do that. And then you don't follow through. Death knell for a parent, okay? I would much rather, if I'm working with you, coaching you as a parent with your kid, I'd much rather have you not make that prediction in the first place if you're not going to follow through. If you can't guarantee yourself that you are 100% going to follow through on what you lay out there, do not lay it out there. I'd much rather have you let crappy behavior go than make a threat and not follow through. And again, notice that the word became threat. We do it in a reactive way. You stop coloring on those walls or I'm going to, no. It needs to be very neutral. If you keep drawing on the wall, I'm going to take away all your crayons and you're going to get a timeout. If you choose to stop drawing on the wall, we can go do something fun. You lay it out. They pick, and then you follow through. Now, with my son, I would lay that out, and he would stop, and everything would be rosy. With my daughter, she'd get that look in her eye, and the crayon would go back toward the wall, and she'd get the time out. And then she'd flail and yell and carry on. She's a redhead. And merely hand out the consequences, follow through over and over and over. And eventually, somewhere down the line, she goes, man, I'm really glad, Mom, you didn't get to 3. Because I always did the counting thing. I'm really glad I didn't get to 3 either, Lauren. It was a lot of work. She's now an adult, fully functioning. It's all good. I would like the opportunity to be a grandparent where I get to do all the fun stuff and not have to do that parenting part of things. That was exhausting. Anyway, so taking the war out of our words, the art of powerful non-defensive communication. And what you find as you use this more and more is things start to change around you. People know that you aren't just going to put up with crappy behavior, and you aren't going to go along to get along, and you are going to kindly and lovingly and directly call out what isn't working for you. That begins to change your whole life, right? So that's our little section for today. I hope you found it helpful. Have an awesome Thursday. We'll see you again tomorrow. And remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are, including practicing the shortened versions of powerful non-defensive communication. Bye-bye.